Had a chance to speak briefly with AJ Allmendinger in the media bullpen on Saturday. And, one of the things that I brought up to AJ is he's been coming here since he was driving the Red Bull car in 2007, 2008, and has made plenty of starts here at this track at the Cup Series level. This was SVG's debut in a Cup Series race at Sonoma. Of course, he tested here, and it's not like he's never driven a Cup car on a road course before, obviously, but the question came up, to a lot of drivers, I think, this weekend, is there any chance that the fact that this has been a mainstay on the Cup Series schedule as opposed to a track like Chicago or, Mexico City or even COTA to an extent, we've only been going there for, I think, 5 years now, since 2021. Does that give the rest of the field an opportunity to close the gap to Shane van Gisbergen? Here's what three-time road course Cup Series winner AJ Allmendinger had to say about that.
Not one bit, to be honest. Not at all.
That's it? Just still being
so honest. He did test last year.
That's true. Yeah.
So no. There's the only thing that's going to shorten the gap is us getting better.
Yeah. Well, you've got quite a road course resume yourself, though. So you think that's going to help?
It's not showing right now. So we got to get better and for me especially, just focus on myself and trying to get better. But yeah, the fact that he hasn't been here in a Cup car on a race weekend is not going to change anything.
Yeah, very short and simple answer there from AJ, and it showed on Sunday. To be fair, and again, I think that was the sentiment. I think Kyle Larson was brought in for media availability shortly before that. That question came up to him as well, and he basically said the same thing. We're not going to come in with any sort of added confidence here that we can take the fight to this guy, any better than we could at Chicago, because he is so great. And I think, there's that conversation coming up already with 4 wins now. Is he the best road course driver in NASCAR history? I don't know, Brandon, if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, it was, I said in a chat earlier this week, it was a record that was meant to be broken, right? I mean, the Jeff Gordon record all time, that's with the understanding that it was only Watkins Glen and Sonoma forever. And that's the only 2 road courses outside of Riverside that NASCAR and the Winston Cup Series knew for forever and a day, until we had the idea for the Charlotte Roval, and then the sky was the limit. And I think in a lot of reasons, in a lot of ways, positively, the sky was the limit, and adding variety to the circuit and making what is and should be an oval dominated series. Have some road course life breathed into it, and I think it's been for the better. But I think that rule was that record was meant to be broken, that Jeff Gordon set, because I mean, it's just a matter of time. Whenever you add more road courses, there's going to be someone who would show up. It may not even have been Shane van Gisbergen. If you had done it back in the early 2000s, it would have been Boris Said or somebody like that would have came along, and if you gave them more shots to get it done, they would have gotten it done, I think, Scott Pruitt included.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of those guys that you're mentioning, Brandon, obviously the ringers of the 90s and 2000s and early 2010s, a lot of times they would get in a car that was maybe a start and park team, so they were just trying to make sure that they could put the best driver in to qualify the car into the race. It wasn't race-winning equipment. Shane van Gisbergen is with a team in Trackhouse that was 250 feet away from a Cup championship, and maybe you could say isn't quite at the level of a Hendrick or a Gibbs or a Penske right now, but as we saw with Ross Chastain at Charlotte this year, is very much capable of going out and competing for race wins. Even Daniel Suarez came close at Vegas earlier this year, and obviously has given SVG a car to do what he's done 3 times this year on the road courses, and even COTA to an extent. I think he was 6th that race, if I recall correctly. So, I mean, again, very, very strong equipment, but by no means just because they're maybe a B team. If you had to rank them in the Cup Series right now, Trackhouse is certainly giving him equipment that he is capable of giving him a chance to go out there and win 3 straight road course races from pole position, which, Brandon, you had brought up that stat, obviously, about Jeff Gordon being the last one to do that. So again, I think if you ask right now, is he already the greatest road course racer in NASCAR Cup Series history? I think the only part of that question that he doesn't have right now is the longevity. You know, he's only been over here as a full-time driver for half of the season, and I guess Chicago was 2 years ago when he burst onto the scene and won in his Cup debut. So, I mean, again, you can look at guys like Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart, and, Chase Elliott kind of at the turn of a decade was known as, the best in the series on road courses, I think. Maybe that discussion's cooled off a little bit in recent years. But, if he stays long enough, I think no question, even if it's just another 2 or 3 years, I mean, the rate he's going, if we still have 6 of these tracks on the schedule, I mean, he could get to 10, 12, maybe even 15 by the time he hangs up the helmet. And I think it's also important to remember, like, Juan Pablo Montoya only won twice. Marcus Ambrose only won twice. AJ Allmendinger's only won 3 times. And those were guys that were here, for the better part of a decade in the case of Montoya and Ambrose, and for roughly a decade and a half, I guess, in Allmendinger's case. I know he took some time off, again, at the turn of a decade, was racing Xfinity for several years. But, I mean, he is just on a completely different level from the rest of the field right now. And I think you heard it from Chase Briscoe on Sunday, especially. He's honored to finish second to the guy because he's just that great. Everybody in the field knows, as AJ mentioned in that brief clip that I just showed. Everyone knows how great he is, and I think Connor Zilic as well knows how great he is, and what it means to him to be able to, at only just about to turn 19 years old, capable of taking the fight to him in the Xfinity Series. I think speaks very highly of the talent that he has, and what he's going to be able to showcase if he does get that Cup Series seed at Trackhouse in 2026 or beyond that. I imagine it's a matter of when, not if, at this point for Zilic.
Yeah, it's something that, if we continue with the amount of road courses that we have, which I don't think there's any reason that we won't. I think just the names are going to change. We look at the possibility of San Diego street course being a thing, or wherever we want to go. But you got it right there. If Shane van Gisbergen has the longevity to match these records, he certainly can beat them.